tariffs are taxes on our own consumers, and they're extremely problematic, and they create political pressure.
The trade relationship between the US and China is perceived by some Americans, including political leaders, as an unequal one. They put the deficit at $335 billion in China's favor, a number disputed by independent economists who calculate the true figure to be as little as half of that. So what is the real economic relationship with China, and is it narrowing job opportunities for Americans or creating new ones? The evidence points to the latter, and that's according to US sources. Let's begin with exports. According to the United States Trade Representative, every $1 billion in new exports of American goods supports more than 6,000 additional jobs at home. In addition, every $1 billion in service exports supports more than 4,500 jobs. A report published by the US-China Business Council, a private, non-partisan and non-profit organization that represents 200 American businesses, says exports to China support 1 million US jobs. So what are they exporting? US firms sell high-value products to China, including cars, trucks, construction equipment, and semiconductors. 25% of what comes off the Boeing assembly line is sold to China. More than a half of all soybeans head to China, and 25% of cotton exports end up in China. Chinese students are also important. The Association for International Educators calculates that for every 7 Chinese students enrolled in a US college, 3 jobs are created for Americans. So, with over 350,000 Chinese students last year, that equates to over 150,000 US jobs. Tourists are also spending hard. The US Travel Association says every $1 million generates 8 jobs for Americans, and at the current value of more than $32 billion a year, Chinese tourists are helping create 262,000 US jobs. Moving on to foreign direct investment, in 2016, Chinese FDI entering the US reached $45 billion, triple the total in 2015. A huge change in 1 year. From 1990 to 2017, the cumulative value of Chinese FDI into the US hit close to $140 billion, and thanks to that, more than 140,000 American jobs are now directly supported by Chinese FDI. Jacob Parker, Vice President of the US-China Business Council, describes economic interest with China as significant and growing. A $600 billion market for Americans. When one country succeeds, so does the other.